welcome back to Light Chaser Studio. Today I'm going to just be sharing with you the process behind my piece that I did a little while back called Truth and Lies. So this piece is pretty personal to me. It was kind of built or formed out of the concept that most of us, at least for me, there's almost like two voices in my head that I hear all the time. And one of them is constantly telling me all the negative things about myself or just constantly telling me things that could go wrong, and basically just the devil on your shoulder, and that kind of idea. And then the other voice is the voice that's actually telling me truth, things that are real, things that are true and good, that are that I should be listening to, but they often sound so similar that I don't necessarily know which one I should listen to. So that's the idea of this piece. And there's a ton of other symbolism in it, which we'll get to in a little bit. But first I want to share with you kind of the process that I went through to actually create this. So I just sketched it out first. As you can see, I just sketched out in my sketchbook with a pencil on paper, and I found a couple reference images on Pinterest, and I ended up tweaking them and changing them quite a bit, and then finding unique things to add to it. And then the next step in my process is to transfer it onto the whatever kind of paper I'm using. Usually I do work with watercolor, but for this one I ended up using smooth Bristol board because I wanted to try out some markers. So I took my light board, which is one of the best investments I've ever made, I think, for my art. It just makes the process so much faster. You don't have to worry about damaging your paper by erasing too much, because you can just do as many sketches as you need to and then transfer those sketches directly onto your final picture, which makes it so much faster, so much easier. This was a huge help for me when I was illustrating my book. And so yeah, if you do a lot of illustration work or just a lot of repetitive work, like if you're making, I don't know, a comic or something, I don't know, but I highly recommend getting one of these. This was super cheap too. I think it was $25 on Amazon, so not even that big of an investment, but definitely super helpful. And the nice part is you can kind of clean up the sketch as you go, because I don't know about you, but sometimes my sketches are very messy, and so I have to go back and figure out what exactly was I trying to do here. So here you can see I went from the initial sketch to the version that I kind of cleaned up via the light board, and then I ended up taking the second sketch and inking it onto Bristol board. So it's kind of a little bit longer process, but it just helped make it cleaner, and I didn't have to do as much cleanup afterward. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Anyway, that's how I did it this time. And then I took my markers from, I think it's called Artex. They're really great. I got them fairly recently. I've been really enjoying them. This was actually, I think, one of the first drawings I've done with them. So I'm just kind of experimenting and trying it out, and I really love how it turned out. Alright, so let's get into some of the symbolism in this picture. The middle girl is holding forget-me-nots in her hand, close to her chest. Forget-me-nots are one of my favorite flowers, partly just because they're super pretty, but also because of their meaning. Specifically to me, I see them as God saying to me, forget me not. And so whenever I see them, it's a reminder to remember that God is there for me, that He is good, He has a good plan for me. And so it's just a very hopeful flower. And so having her clutched close to her chest was symbolic as well, of just, holding that truth to your heart and remembering your reason, and remembering that God is good and He's got you. And then so the middle girl is wearing a sweater because I get cold really easily. And I'm basically always wearing sweaters unless it's like summer. So that was that, just kind of showing a little bit of like my personality, I guess, and the idea that like I have flaws, I'm weak, I get cold, I get hungry, I'm a normal human. But at the same time, the lower half of her, which you can't really tell right now, you'll get to see it later, but so I gave her armor to represent that I am also strong, that I am a knight in the service of God, that I have, strength and power, and that I'm in a battle. And I think that's really important to remember that, yes, life is fun and it's exciting, but we're also constantly battling things like our own fears and other people's lies, and just the hard things that happen in life too. So we're constantly fighting, and I think almost romanticizing that in a way of like remembering that we are like knights and stuff. I don't know. I think it helps me be a little bit more enthusiastic about that and take it as almost a privilege rather than like, oh, I have to bear this burden of, sticking up for myself or something. Instead, I get to look at it as this noble thing of, I am a lady knight, I am a warrior for Christ. So anyway, that's why there's the armor, which turned out super great in my opinion. I had so much fun with it. I really want to just like draw armor forever now. But anyway, so the girl on the, what is that, left in the green dress, she represents truth. And I gave her a green dress because green often symbolizes like growth and honesty and just like nature in general. And I really love that idea of like kind of innocence and yeah, just growth, and how the truth this is kind of funny, it's almost backwards, but like the truth always stays the same even when you grow up, and maybe you just see truth more clearly the older you get. Anyway, and then yeah, so here's the armor, which is so much fun. I definitely need to draw some more, which I probably will because I play D&D, and often a lot of the characters have armor. I think my main character actually has a little bit. So I'm sure I will end up one way or another doing more armor. So the sword in the middle person's hand also represents truth. Um, the sword of truth is a reoccurring theme in the Bible, and I mean it fit right in with the whole knight thing, and plus swords are just super awesome, so that worked out really well. The colors I chose also for the middle girl are mostly just like kind of my comfort colors, I guess. I've always really loved blue, and I like all different shades of blue. Blue is the one color that I love every shade of it. Like maybe not, I wouldn't plaster that color, like that shade all over my house, but I do like appreciate it. A lot of other colors like green, even purple, definitely red and orange, I don't really care for a lot of those. Even though I love like purple and green, there are some shades that I'm just like, that is not appealing whatsoever. But blue's not like that. Blue is just my happy color. Uh, I don't know if it'll show it or not, but one of the little details on the girl on the left is her boots. They're more of a like rustic adventuring hiking boot kind of thing. I think it's really applicable to life, of how like truth can sometimes be tough, and you just kind of have to get with it. But the girl on the right, I did her in red. She symbolizes, deception and lies. And red is a very seductive color, and often lies can seem really appealing and flashy, and they just kind of pull you in one way or another, and you end up, believing them because they do seem appealing. And we have to be really careful about that. So I also tried to represent that in the flowers in her hair. They didn't turn out quite the way I wanted them to, but basically the idea was in the front they would be more of like a light, happy, flirty pink, and then as they would fade to the back where you couldn't really see them, they would turn to like a deathly, sick red and decaying black, and to again just emphasize that point that lies are so deceptive and can really destroy our lives if we believe them. And that about wraps it up. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you kind of resonated with any of this, and I will see you next time.